Hi everyone, it's Jackie from Full Moon Loom Designs, and today I'm going to share pulling some Vitrigraph cane. I'm using a Vitrigraph kiln, and this is my kiln that I have. It's an Olympic HB86P. You can see the specs here. It's like 8 by 8 by 6.5. I have a couple of blocks inside. I'll be setting my stainless pot up on that once I get it filled. And what I'm going to be working on today is pulling some flower stems, and really today I'm going to do more branchy stuff that's more of a brown color. I'm going to sort through my scrap and I'll share stacking the pot as well. But if I take a look and show you the stems, I'm going to shut the camera off, go grab those, and show you what those turned out like last weekend. But I did have a request if I put together maybe a little mini tutorial or a video, so I've got the GoPro charging right now. This is just being shot on my iPhone, but we'll put all this together later for you. And right now I'm going to go grab the stems. So this is the batch of stems. Pardon my dog barking upstairs, I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, last weekend I did this mostly with a mix of dark green transparent and some aventurine green and a little bit of green opal. If you can see a cross cut here, you can see on the inside the lighter green. A lot of people commented they look like green beans. I agree when I look back at photos of it, but I'm going to use these for different flowers. I have a lot of flower ideas to work on this summer. I have that great little book by CPI, actually both books that show how to make flowers. One of the projects I'm working on right now are some roses, and that's why I made the green stems. But today in the video I'm going to hopefully pull some brownish black. I might even use a little bit of black aventurine. So this is the look that I'm going to be going for, and this is what we're going to show in the video today. Alright, here is a glance at some of the glass I have here that I'm going to cut down to fill this pot. I have a base piece, and I really didn't measure it. I just happen to have a square that I cut a little off, and I can see that it should fit in the bottom here. Normally, before I even start, I should say, this is not, I am not a professional at the Vitrigraph stuff. I'm still learning myself. But so far what I've been doing has been fun, and it has been working. I did clean most of the glass out of my pot. I no longer apply any zip or anything. I think you can kind of see in there I had some at one time. But I always start with a piece of clear in the bottom. I'm going to clean my glass as I cut it. As you can see, that square fits down there nicely. Now, a lot of my pots that I've been filling, I don't have perfect squares to fit in there. I have even used just little bits and pieces of clear, especially because I have more of that than anything on hand. But I am going to be cutting down this stack here, and then once I have my pieces cut to where they'll fit in here, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to stack those in the pot. Thought I would show you a little bit of what I have for glass selection. I have some clear pieces. I have a couple of pieces of chestnut brown opal. Probably put them on the top, kind of let them be more in the center. I have a bunch of this. I'm not even sure what color it is. I think it was a Fuser's Reserve at one time. Don't use a lot of that color, so the pieces I had, I just went ahead and cut up for this. I have some brown and clear. I believe it's Uroboro Streaky. This is all 96, and it's important that when you do this, that just like any other glass fusing, that you use stuff that is compatible. I do have a little bit of black aventurine, and the reason I say a little is because black, and even these dark colors I could probably use less of, it's going to just take over. So I like the look when I did the green of the aventurine sparkles, how they kind of look like just little nubs on the stems that I made that were green. So I'm kind of hoping I get that look with the browns as well. But this is what I have for glass. I have put a piece into the bottom here, or a couple pieces, and I am going to start stacking. All right, I have the phone set up. Still don't have the GoPro set up yet for this part, but we're going to use the phone here. Hopefully you're seeing this okay, you're hearing me okay. I have it positioned over the pot, and I'm just going to start filling it up. The bottom stuff is really going to be kind of what plops out at the beginning, so it can really just be anything. Again, I probably have a little bit of green in there. I can see a tiny bit from the last pull. I'm not too worried about it. Have some clear in the bottom. Probably put a little more clear. And I do have some different size pieces as well as tons of just various scraps if I need to fill in any gaps. I don't worry too much about them being exact size because as this heats up, it's all going to melt down together. But anyway, I'm going to start putting the pieces in. I've got some clear in. I'm going to put a piece of brown, maybe a couple scraps, cake scrap. More clear. I think I might add a little strip on the side. It's good to have some smaller pieces just to kind of help fill in. Probably another piece of brown. I do keep my nippers nearby if I need to just cut a piece apart. Got a nice chunk of double thick clear. Put that in there. And I think I'll start adding some of this brown streaky. And you know, these are going to be stems, branches. I'm not overly concerned if they come out kind of weird or variated and variations in color. That's okay. You know, nature is variable. After I put a couple layers of that brown in, and here's a little side piece. I better clean that one off. Some of my glass was dusty from sitting out. Put in a little more clear. Brown. Because I don't have same size, all perfectly cut squares, I couldn't just do a stack and show you what the stack would look like. But we're going to try it this way. Pretty sure it's going to work after my experience with the green last weekend. So as you can see, I'm just filling. I'm not too worried if I even fill this one all the way because I don't need a whole lot of this pulled today, but for demonstration purposes, more brown, and some of the streaky and some of the opaque. A little more clear. At this point, maybe I should add a little bit of that aventurine. And yes, I did check to make sure this was black and not blue. Looks very close, but when you put them side by side, you can really see the difference. So I'll put one piece there. Some more brown. Didn't look too clean, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. As long as you don't have, I would think, a lot of glue or sticker stuff on these, should be okay. So you can see I have some random pieces. Add another clear. Put the rest of my aventurine in here. Out of clear pieces already cut, but I do still have browns, and they do have a little bit of clear in them. And I'm going to put this kind of lighter color brown on top. And I accidentally grabbed a piece of iridized, and I don't really want that in there, so it wouldn't hurt anything. But this is full enough, I think. I think I'll just go ahead and top it off with what I got left of clear scraps. pieces. Again, not too scientific with my color choices here today. Just mostly browns, a little bit of black. And now I'm just tossing the bits of scrap that I have left in here on top. And why not still have a little bit of Vitrigraph. I don't think it's going to hurt to have on top here. Could end up in the center. We'll find out. All right, so that pot is full enough for me, and really it is full. It's probably about maybe 1/8 of an inch down on some sides. Usually I'll kind of give it a little tap to make sure that everything is sitting down in there and I don't have a bunch just all of a sudden fall as it starts to melt. But this is what I'm going to start with. In an earlier piece of video, I showed how I have the blocks in the kiln. I'm going to set this pot on top of those blocks and center it so the hole is centered with the hole in the bottom of the Vitrigraph kiln. And I'm going to fire it up. And it takes, I usually just turn it on high or between 6 and high. I have the infinity switch controller or infinite switch. Probably usually hour and a half, it's about ready to drop. So I will plug the hole in the bottom with a little bit of fiber and watch the temperature, and usually I'll work on some other stuff while I'm keeping an eye on that. But once that's heated up, I'll have the GoPro going, and when I come back, we'll be pulling some glass. Sorry for the reflection, but I just turned this on. I do start it at high. I've not had any issues with that. And then usually as it gets up around 1,000, 1,200, I start turning it back a little bit, usually to about 6. And then I have found when I'm pulling cane that a 5 setting seems to work pretty well to get more consistent sizing. I had it up too high one time and I was getting all kinds of weird shapes and couldn't figure out what was going on, and then I realized I didn't turn the heat back. So turning the heat back to kind of control it is important. It'll take probably about an hour, hour and a half for this to heat up. Let's see, what time is it now? It is just after noon. So I would imagine by about 1:30, I'll be starting to see some stuff peek through the hole there. Now that the kiln is heating up, I did take a strip of fiber blanket and I just plug the hole with that while I'm waiting for it to heat up. I do check it as it starts getting close to temp to make sure I'm not blocking it from coming through, because that could be a disaster, pushing it into the kiln shelf or something like that. No issues so far, knock on wood, but we'll remove this later when we get ready to pull. Here we can see the glass is about to drop. That first chunk we're going to cut away as scrap. All right, I think we're really close to getting ready to pull some glass here. I just took a look with my phone and I am looking and I see it starting to almost come through the hole here. I have dialed the heat back, probably at about 5, maybe just a hair above 5. As soon as it starts to poke through just a bit more, I'm going to pull some of that away. That piece will be scrap. Not to say we couldn't use it for something. Here's one from the last pull. Usually they'll kind of shatter because they are so thick at the end. This one never did. Looks kind of cool. If I could sand off the bottom and flatten it, it would be kind of a neat little sculpture. Hopefully you can see that starting to poke through. As you can kind of see there, hopefully in the camera view, it's mostly clear, and I see some brown, and that's because I did start the bottom of the pot with brown, or I'm sorry, with clear. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this one down. Do not have gloves on. I would recommend that until you're comfortable with using your kiln that you wear gloves. I do wear gloves from time to time. I try wearing a welding smock, but it's too restrictive trying to move. So I just am very careful, and that's not to say I don't get burned. I had a piece pop last time and burned the tip of my finger. So that first piece I'm just gonna let cool off. You may hear a shatter. But here's what we just pulled from there. Of course, Daniel dropped it on me. May be able to start pulling this. I may twist some of it, I may not. We'll kind of see how it goes. What I was doing last time to make the stems was I'll kind of grab it, give it a little turn. Some areas would be a little thicker. I really wanted them to have more of an organic shape. You can kind of pinch them a little bit with these long nose pliers I've got. Let's see how this one looks when we pull it. This is kind of that funky brown color, but I'm hoping it changes a little bit as we get going here. I say we, it's just me today. Although it would be helpful if I had somebody else here just to hold the camera or set the camera up, tell me how it's looking. I try to use the preview feature on my GoPro, so if you see me looking down now and then, that's what I'm doing. Here's one, not exactly pretty, but it would work. Yep, I hear the blob that I pulled starting to pop over here. I usually do lay it on fiber blanket, and I did have a couple people post that they do it differently. Somebody puts it on like wood from a pallet, it looked like, sheet metal. And I got to give a shout out to, first of all, to Shorty, Barbara Shorty Watkins, because she kind of took the fear away from the Vitrigraph for me and just pulling Vit. And then I really didn't know much about trying to pull cane. I figured it was kind of the same. So please, by all means, I am not an expert at this. This is kind of new for me. But I thought I would share how I was doing the stems. So again, I'm just kind of letting them get a little bit of organic shape. These may come out looking really gross in color, but we'll find out. It's hard to tell always when they're super hot. I just had a piece break off over here. See if I can see what the cross section looks like. Try to get that into camera range. It is pretty stiff yet. It could just be the colors, although I would think these would flow. I am bumping the heat up just a little bit more. Of course, as I did that, this one's softening. I like to get a hold of them pretty securely before I try to cut. I've seen a lot of people have nice setups where you've got kind of a longer shoot here for things to fall down. I don't have the space yet set up for that. This is just sitting on a cart, but this stand is adjustable. I'm not even sure how much further up it could go. If I had it on, well, I can't really go too much further because I'm probably about 2 feet from the ceiling down here. I'm in the basement. I don't want to get too close to that, obviously, but here's a little bit of a branch. And we'll continue. I realize my arms are probably getting in the way here a lot of the time. But I set this camera up and tried a few different things, tried from both sides. This seemed to be about the best. So here I am going to give it just a little twist. Now, if I were pulling just Vitrigraph and wanted to make spirals and excuse me, and such, I do have some stainless kind of like these pipes. I'll have to show them later. They're kind of out of reach. But those then I would wrap it around. It's really not a whole lot different. I usually have my heat a little higher and I'm pulling faster and just making thinner pieces. But for this, I'm just trying to make kind of that branchy look. Give it a little kink there. Oh, that one broke. I don't know if you saw me jump there because I was ready to move if it was coming toward my legs. Sometimes I'll stand while doing this. Today I am sitting on a stool. Really, it's right about eye level where it's coming down, which is ideal for me. This is probably like a lot of other things with fusing and that. Everybody has a different way of doing it. Again, I'm pretty new at this, so, you know, by all means, don't take this as, you know, the only way to do it or the way to do it. I'm sure there will be people that say, oh, I'm doing something wrong. That's okay. I'm learning. We're learning together. And I just realized I did not turn my music off in the background, so I hope I don't get slapped with some, YouTube tells me I've got music playing. It's actually Calm Radio I have in the background, so I'll give credit at least. I have no idea who it is because I'm unable to see the TV right now. I'm anxious to see some of that aventurine come through. I'm sure we will pretty soon. And that big plug piece is definitely breaking. I don't know if you could hear that ping, but here's a piece of it. Keep that pushed over out of the way. Yep, especially the clear at the bottom. I did wonder last weekend when I was making these and I attempted to anneal them in the kiln, but I have since had a few people tell me you really don't need to, that they've had pieces of cane sitting around for months, never had an issue, so I won't bother with annealing these. Again, I usually, once as I'm pulling things, I'll put them down on the blanket. When I'm all done, I try to cover them up. And of course, usually my top blanket, as I'm done, I'm pulling out just Vitrigraph, skinny pieces, spirals, and so forth. If we can see, I'm just kind of giving them a somewhat organic look. Because I don't know about you, but I rarely have seen a perfectly straight branch. And that one broke. Sometimes I think I might be pinching them a little too hard with these guys, but sometimes as I'm holding on to them, these I think could use some sharpening. I might try just cutting foil with them a few times. Because they are starting to be a little resistant at cutting through. It did take close to 2 hours to heat today. Could be because my basement's a little chilly. Usually I'd say probably about an hour and a half and I'm pulling. And on a regular, just a flower pot, clay pot, I'm done within an hour. These guys can last, I think last time I was probably pulling pieces for a couple hours. Still not really seeing the aventurine come through. I'm gonna cut this one. pieces. That color is different. It's brown. I'm sure I'll probably like it more later, especially if I put it next to, like, as I'm working on flowers. Started out, I wanted some green stems for roses, and I thought, didn't really want to pull a bunch more green because I have probably enough to last me a year or two. And I thought that, well, branches are brown, so maybe I'll do some branch pieces today. As you can see, if you just kind of leave it sit there, it will be thicker. Sometimes I'll just let gravity push it through a little bit. If I pull, I'll do one here where I'll just pull it a little thinner so you can see if I pull faster, I'm going to get thinner. That's where you can kind of make some little curls and so forth. I think it's looking like a little richer brown now, although that is still pretty hot, so it's hard to say for sure. Again, if I wanted to just pull some thinner pieces that I could use maybe in a, on top of another piece of glass. I wouldn't want them quite as heavy as I'm making them for stems. So as you can see, I can just make smaller ones as well. Okay, we're going to let that thicken up a little more again, just to try to keep these somewhat consistent. And here's one of the skinnier ones. You can see that. I will say, when I got this kiln and I first got it home, probably sat here for a couple of weeks before I was brave enough to try it on my own. I had watched them use it in the glass shop. I had seen a little bit on videos, but I hadn't really learned much about doing it on my own yet, and I was a little paranoid because of the whole infinity switch, not being able to really program it. But now that I've used it, I absolutely love it. And I really didn't feel I needed a programmable one because I really don't plan to use this for anything other than pulling Vitrigraph and cane. To me, programming is more for the pieces you're making, like bowls and plates and such. This, you're just trying to heat it up and get it to attempt to work with. And it seems to work quite well. Drop that one. I'm surprised it didn't break. Yep, starting to see a little sparkle from the adventuring. just about touch that with my thumb. It's a nice scraggly looking branch. You can see that one. Right on the fiber here. Very organic looking. The tools I'm using to pull these, I just bought them on Amazon. I honestly don't remember the brand name of them, but I can look that up and share that in the comments with this video or in the video itself. They were not expensive, but they seem to be pretty good quality. Like I said, these are starting to get to where they don't, oh, there is a brand on here. Parts Master. So these are Parts Master. But I think maybe if I cut some foil with these, kind of like sharpening punches, it might help them a little bit. Starting to hear the pot kind of bubble a little bit. Might be getting down there on the volume. I'll also be able to tell kind of toward the end when they start getting hollow. Don't think they are yet. So I've just shut the kiln off. Everything is just hollow now, and the end of the pull, probably because I still had a little bit of green in the corners of my pot. This is like a color I'm not sure that I love or hate. It's kind of an olive green. Not sure, I may use it for something. I'm not going to toss it out. But I did get lots of nice branch pieces today. and I'll get a better photo of these later. They are very blackish brown, almost totally black on some of them. So, you know, it was more to show the process. I'm sure I'll use some of them as branches, but anyway, I wanted to share all this with you today, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I appreciate those who watched. Feel free to leave comments. Again, I'm not a professional videographer, so please keep that in mind. But anyway, thank you and have a wonderful day. Here's a look at the batch of stems that I just got, or branches. They are kind of a weird color, brownish black. This light is not the best here. They look mostly black, but in the light you can kind of see the brown. See, there is some aventurine in there. These got to be cleaned up yet, but they're still too hot to handle. But anyway, just wanted to show what those look like. And I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks.